Hey everybody, Gary with Basecamp Trading. Let's take a look at the ES today. You can see that the ES in the overnight actually kind of worked its way lower throughout the night. And then as we were coming out of the London session into the US session, we started to buy again. And you can see the buyers were starting to kick in here. We had a really bullish bar right here, opened at the bottom, closed near the top, left a little topping tail, followed by another really bullish bar, opened at the bottom, closed very near the top, poked through the 200 EMA. Again, we know these are significant support and resistance, the 50 and 200 EMA. Poked through it, couldn't close above it, actually closed just under it. But then the next bar was another really bullish bar, opened at the bottom, closed very near the top, and closed above significant support or significant resistance, and even above the 5 and 13. I mean, this was a really bullish bar, opened at the bottom, closed very near the top. Then kind of consolidated a little bit, came back, tested the 200, left the bottoming tail. The entire body of that bar was all buying. And then we had another really strong bullish bar, pushed above all the EMAs, causing the 5 and 13 to cross to the upside and closed above the 50. Of course, had to come back and test it, broke underneath it, but ended up closing back above it. And yet again, tested it, closed back above it, another really strong bullish bar. And this right in here actually kicked in a nice Unirenko setup that we'll go over here in a second, but really strong bullish bar here, and then the ES just worked its way higher pretty much for the rest of the day. And this was the Unirenko setup that we had. And this was kind of what we call a textbook Unirenko setup. This is where the market had been pushing down. So you can see it been pushing down in the overnight. And then right in here is where it started to reverse, coming out of the London session and into the US session. Now this is a Unirenko chart, so it's not based on time, it moves with price. And this is a 4-tick trend, 10-tick reversal, 20 tick reversal, 10 tick offset chart. So each one of these bars is 4 ticks to the upside. And this is when we were reversing on 30-minute chart. We kept pushing up, broke through the cloud, actually went up here, tested this previous pivot, pulled back off of that pivot, but we had broken the cloud. Moving averages were changing to the upside. We made the pullback, pulled back into the cloud, had the wick out of the cloud, and then pushed up. Now, the slightly more aggressive trade would have been the wick out of the cloud trade. If you wanted to play this a little more conservative, you could have waited till you broke the double top, because that would have triggered in a trend reversal breakout also. Because you can see we're making lower highs, lower lows. Then we came up here and we made a pivot. It wasn't a higher pivot high, it ended up being an equal pivot high. And then we came down here and we made a higher pivot low and then broke to the upside. So if you want to be a little more conservative, could have waited for the double top breakout. Slightly more aggressive trade was the wick out of the cloud. Now these wick out of the cloud trades are ones that we look for all the time. So this was a good setup. You had a nice momentum reset. You can see that with this push to get above the cloud, momentum pushed up, and then we made the pullback, made a nice reset, so momentum had plenty of room to accelerate our trade in the direction we wanted to go. And so we had our wick out of the cloud here for a nice strong push up in the ES. Our upside target in the ES was 36.9875. Now, ultimately, before the day was over, we ended up going higher than that. We actually went up to 37.08, but our original target was 36.9875. We hit that. And again, Trend Pro 2.0 just keeping you in the trade. No reversal bars in any of this. Right on up into our target. Our entry was one tick above the wick bar, which was 36.83. Our target was 36.9875. So yeah, a really nice push to the upside in the ES. You had the potential, again, your entry would have been 36.83. You ran up to 36.98. So potentially $750 per contract. Again, just depends on how you're trading this, but you had the potential to grab $750 per contract, and if you stayed in right until the reversal bar, it could have got just a little bit more than that. This reversal bar ended up closing at 37.02, so either could have taken the target or waited for the reversal bar. But again, potential to grab $700 or more per contract, again, just depending on how you're trading this. And if you were in the room this morning, Thomas Wood was even giving us a hint that we were heading in this direction. He was talking about the 5-minute chart. If you look at the 5-minute chart, you actually had a setup off of this as well. This is where we started to reverse coming out of the London session, and you can see the 5-minute chart. We started making higher highs and higher lows, punched up here, and then we made this pullback. And then you can see right here we had the low high reversal with a close back above the moving averages. The 5 and the 18 never did cross to the downside. And right here, as we were triggering this low high reversal, that was right in the same spot we were triggering that Unirenko setup. The high of that bar was 36.82. The Unirenko bar was 36.82.75. So the trigger was the break of either this low high reversal bar or off the Unirenko chart. So you could have taken the 5-minute trade just as well. And again, you can see nice strong push to the upside in the 5-minute chart. If you were just trailing with a 1-bar stop in a 5-minute chart and you had taken this entry, again, your entry would have been a break above 36.82, so it's 36.82 and a quarter, and then your stop goes below each bar. So your stop would have been below the low of this bar, and then this one, and then all the way up. And you can see, had you just run the trailing stop off the 5-minute chart, you wouldn't have gotten stopped out until this bar right here. So you would have got stopped out somewhere around 36.90. So even that trade was good for over $400 per contract. Then you set up the bull flag, triggered, and could have continued to run higher. So several different opportunities and different ways to take advantage of a nice move up in the ES today.